What's up, guys? Brett Okamoto from ESPN, joined by UFC heavyweight Tom Aspinall. He is back. UFC Fight Night, main event. Very, very familiar sort of circumstances in terms of you headlining an event at the O2, but very, very different circumstances in terms of how you were coming into this fight. It's been an interesting year, I'm sure, for you, Tom. But first off, welcome back, man. Good to see you. Excited to see you back out there doing your thing at the O2, man. Welcome back.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I am apparently the London guy who main events London these days. Maybe not if Leon Edwards is fighting, no, but yeah, very, very excited to be back. Very, very excited. I'm literally counting down the days to be back. We're on 2 weeks now, and just about finishing up camp. Everything's healthy, everything's good, and great energy around. Great energy. Looking forward to getting back in there, man.
What can you expand a little bit on great energy? Like what feels so good going into this one?
A lot of things, to be honest. I feel like I'm in a really good place in my personal life, which for me as an athlete is pretty important as well. Like, I'm really happy. I feel like my training is really good. Like now I'm just surrounded by heavyweights, which I've never been surrounded by before. You know, my dad kind of created a training situation for me where I'm just training with like really, really good heavyweights every day, which is something that I've never really had before. And you know, I'm free of injury, which is great. Like this knee injury has been keeping me back for a long time, like since before I was in the UFC, and it's all fixed. Like I had the best surgeon, the best physio, the best rehab. I've had the best diet. I've been looking after my body good. I've been doing hypnotherapy. I've been living clean. I've been sleeping right. Like every box is ticked that I could possibly tick. I'll give myself the best chance at going in and winning this thing and making changing the future for myself and my family. And that's what the mission is right now.
Any heavyweights that we know that you're working out with when you say you're surrounded by heavyweights?
I mean, can I speak about other organizations or not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm training with all different guys. I'm training with a couple of Russian guys who are in Brave. I'm training with the KSW heavyweight champion, who is Phil DeFries, who's a UFC veteran himself. I'm training with a guy who's going to make his debut on the same day as I am, Mick Parkin. He's going to make his UFC debut as a heavyweight. And a few up and coming guys. You know, I'm training with between 5 and 15 heavyweights every day. So I've got some really good training. I'm training with all guys from different organizations, PFL, KSW, Brave, ONE FC. I'm training with guys from different organizations. So it's great.
And how did this all come together? Was this something like your father knew you had some time and kind of wanted to put together a camp? Like, why has this not happened in the past? And how did it come together now?
Yeah, so basically, it's a bit of a long story, to be honest with you. I've always struggled for heavyweight training partners. And I kind of realized that to get me to the next level in my career, that I need to be training with heavyweights every day, like not just once every blue moon. Like to be honest, I was always like doing boxing sparring with heavyweights. Like I've been around Tyson Fury a lot and Hughie Fury and the whole Fury family and stuff. And every now and again, I used to go there and box with the heavyweights. And I used to realize that when I was taking the punches off the heavyweights, I wasn't used to it a lot. And to be honest with you, the punches would hurt. Like the punches were painful, and even just fighting the guys off, like wrestling the guys that size, even though we weren't wrestling training, we were just boxing, like just the weight of the guys would affect me, like physically as well. And, you know, my dad's been my coach for the longest time, and I spoke to him about it, and we just decided that we're going to create a training session just for heavyweights. And that's what we've done. And, you know, a lot of guys, at first it was kind of just training for myself. You know, we just decided to invite a couple of local guys who I'm training with, and then, you know, people started reaching out and joining, and yeah, we just got a mat full of heavyweights every day. It's amazing.
Yeah. And so, like you said, you're checking every box. I do wonder, like, had it not happened the way in which it did against Curtis Blades, and this is like an impossible thing to answer, of course, so you can really kind of take this any way you want. What do you think would have happened? Like, do you think you would have actually finally had the surgery after the Curtis Blades fight? Or do you think like you would have rode this thing all the way to, like, what do you think would have happened had it not gone the way in which it did?
Honestly, I probably wouldn't have got the surgery. Believe it or not, I don't like going into like a hospital and getting my leg cut open and being unable to walk for weeks. Like that's not really my first option of doing things.
Mhm.
But I knew that I needed this surgery since before I was even in the UFC. Like 2 or 3 fights before I was in the UFC, I needed it. But it was always just like, oh, the next one I'm going to get it fixed. The next one I'm going to get it fixed. And then they offered me another fight, like more money. And I think, oh, I've done it before. Like I was literally beating former champions on one leg before. Like
Mhm.
that's literally what was happening. I beat guys in the top 10 on one leg, and yeah, maybe I just got a little bit greedy. But at the time when I obviously blew the knee out and had surgery and all that, it was the most depressing time of my life by far.
Mhm.
But I think now it's really one of the best things that's ever happened to me, seriously, because I've changed so much since then. Like I feel like it's made me way mentally stronger. I feel like I'm a little bit like battle tested now, and I just feel great. Like I can sit here on an interview and on all the other interviews that I do and just say how good everything is over and over and over. But ultimately, it depends on how I'm going to perform, and I don't know how I can not perform to my best when I'm in this situation. Like I'm by
Yeah.
far the best that I've ever been in training, at least.
You feel like you were living with almost a thought in the back of your head that at some point it's going to go? Like, or do you think you were like in denial? Like, nah, it'll be all right. It'll be all right. But, or did you just know at some point this thing is going to burst?
A little bit of both, to be honest. I realize now that I was in denial big time of like now I can do everything in the gym. And before, you can ask anybody who's ever trained with me in the last 5 years. I couldn't get through a training session. And I'm not even over exaggerating. I couldn't. It's ridiculous. Like I was training for 5 round fights, literally with one leg. I couldn't grapple for any amount of time. I couldn't be on my knees for any amount of time. I couldn't kick. Like there's so many stuff that I couldn't do. And now, honestly, it's given me like a new lease of life in the gym. Like I feel like I don't know. I just feel so refreshed and rejuvenated to be able to do all these things like pain free, but not just pain free. Like pain is part of being a top level athlete for sure. But like the mental thing of having shit, if I do this too much, my knee's going to give out every day, and every movement I make, it just paid. It honestly, it just took its toll big time mentally, and I didn't even realize it. I was so used to it over the years that it became like, I'm all right to do it with one leg. And now that I've got 2 legs, I realize I'm just way different now. Like I feel just so much better. It feels great.
Two legs are better than one. Yeah, you realizing that.
I think so.
um,
I think so. Definitely.
is it kind of wild to you that it happened in a fight, like with all the stuff that you do in training? Like why did it have to happen right in the middle of the fight, or is that just because everything's ratcheted up by 100 in a fight?
Yeah, I mean, I never thought it would happen in the fight. I was pretty sure it was going to happen in the gym. The weirdest thing about it was this. So my knee kind of locked. It used to like lock. It used to what I would call like lock up, where it'd like stay in one position, and I couldn't move it until someone like pulled it straight. And that happened a few times before, definitely. But it happened when I was grappling, like when I was on my knees. It would never happen when I threw a kick before, ever. Like it never. That was the first time it ever happened. So as I kicked him, it kind of locked, and then I stepped on it when it was locked, and that's when things in it just started snapping. So yeah, I never expected it to happen in a fight. And to be honest, I can't wait to fight just so I'm not the guy with a bad knee anymore. Like I just want to put this stuff behind me. I can't wait to never speak about it again, and
Really?
and just move forward. Because honestly, like I'm just sick of speaking about it. To be honest, like for the last
Yeah.
year, people have been stopping me in the street every day and asking how my knee is, and
Yeah.
obviously now the fight's coming up, and that's every interview people are asking how it is, and I just don't
Yeah.
want to be the guy with the bad knee anymore. I want to be the guy who's going to be the future heavyweight champion. I don't want to be this guy with the bad knee anymore.
Well, I think you can be both, right? And it's funny that you said that because one thing I would definitely wanted to ask you in this interview is, do you think it makes you more interesting? It's like you think of Anderson Silva with the leg injury, like Connor tore his ACL, and then obviously now the recent leg injury, and like Dominic Cruz overcame a ton of things. Like, do you feel like it like adds to your story that this happened in such a big public way?
I do actually, to be honest, I do. I think that everything was see it changed my mentality a lot, to be honest, because everything was moving like so smoothly before, and there was a lot of things wrong with stuff, but I kind of didn't want to change anything because everything was going so smoothly. I was just kind of like happy to be there, happy to go along with anything. And now I'm just like, listen, if this isn't serving me, whatever it may be, it doesn't belong in my life in any way. Like my training situation, the conversations I'm having, the stuff that I'm putting in my body, the time that I'm spending doing other stuff outside the gym. Like, mate, I'll be honest with you, before, so say I train for 4 hours a day. I was living 4 hours as an athlete. The other 20 hours, I was living just like a regular person. I wasn't living like a top level athlete. Now I'm making sure I get enough sleep. I'm making sure I'm looking after the body. I'm making sure I'm taking the right supplements, putting the right things in the body, and stretching and all the right kind of stuff. I'm doing mental preparation that I was never doing before. And, you know, before it was just all a little bit smooth sailing. And I feel like I definitely needed some adversity to really appreciate and take, like, now I can't wait to fight. Like I cannot wait just to get back in there and do what I love, because before it was just all too easy for me, and now I just can't wait to get in there and show everybody what I'm all about again.
One of the things that you talked about, you've mentioned it, but I didn't really hear much detail on it. Like when you left the arena, there were people still hanging around, fans, and like they were applauding you, like as you left. That sounded pretty cool. Like, was there kind of some cool details around that when you left that night, the O2?
Yeah, they were actually people even stood outside, and as I left in the car, they were even like applauding the car as it went past. It's, you know, I don't think people fully understand. Like, I'm a guy from the northwest of England, and for us, like, I'm from like a small place in the northwest, and even though London's only like 5 hours drive away, like London for someone like me from like a working class poorer area, London might as well be frigging Mars, to be honest. I know that a lot of like local people, they saved up a lot of money, which takes a long time up here to make the trip to London and buy UFC tickets. And like, these guys don't have like lucrative jobs. These are guys who are frigging working in factories, and they're underneath a car all day, and they're having to borrow money to go down there and watch the fight. And, you know, I just felt like I let a lot of people down. So for people to be waiting around clapping for me and stuff, that really motivated me to come back.
Mm-hmm. And then the journey back, you know, we don't have to outline every little detail of it, but, you know, you put out some good videos that showed some behind the scenes of it. And like the first one you put out, like the very intro, it's kind of like a little bit of a cliffhanger, and it's a little tense. It's like that physician is like, you know, this was a worry, the way that your career was going. And then like, he even says like, don't panic or whatever. But like, when someone tells you not to panic, I feel like that's when most people start panicking. Like, how scary was it, I guess, when you first started to get in and find out exactly what was wrong, and kind of what stands out in terms of some of the landmarks to get back?
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely a little bit worried, because my surgeon is like one of literally the best knee surgeons in the world. Like, the guys in America and stuff were saying how good this guy was. Like, this guy's done surgeries on loads of footballers, internet. Like, he tells me not to name drop the people that he's done surgery on, but there's some really, really big names who are like highest of the high level athletes who he's done knee surgery on. And yeah, it was quite worrying, to be honest, when he gave me the like diagnosis of it and how severe it was and how much I should have got it fixed earlier. But at first we kind of thought that I needed 2 surgeries on it. And I treated my rehab, honestly, my rehab program, I treated it more serious than I've ever treated any training camp in my life. Like, seriously, I was looking after this knee like you wouldn't believe. Like, I was rehabbing this knee near enough all day, every day. I was obsessed with the rehab process. And I rehabbed it so well and so much that I didn't need the second surgery. Everything healed really well. Like, you couldn't believe the second scans that I had, how well and quickly that I'd healed. I really looked after it. I really looked after my body. I made sure that I wasn't putting nothing bad in my body. I was living clean and getting the right rest and everything else that I needed. I'm really proud of the way that I looked after myself since the surgery, because it was really easy just to kind of get depressed and fall into a hole, which I did do for a while, I'll be honest. I definitely did do that for a little while. But since I started the rehab process, and I had a really lot of good people around me, they really kept me motivated to do this thing properly and get back.
When as you come back and you look at where the division is, does it feel very different? Does your status feel different? Do you feel like you still have the momentum, that you come right back into it? I mean, you're headlining an event in London, or how has the division changed, and how do you think your kind of status in the division has changed?
I mean, the division is definitely like wide open at the moment. It was a little bit stuck for a while. with Ngannou like kind of being inactive at the top and no one else really doing anything. And now we've got guys coming through. We've got a lot of big fights coming up as well. I just seen that Tuivasa and Volkov are fighting. We've obviously got Cyril Gane and Spivak, which are fights all around my ranking that I'm very interested in. Then we've got Pavlovich and Blades, and all these fights are definitely future fights for me. It's very interesting, and obviously Jon Jones at the top. So I think at heavyweight it kind of has its own rules. Like if I'm going to go in there against Tybura and lie on him for 5 rounds, and it's going to be a boring fight, it's probably not going to move me up too much. If I go in there and knock him out with a violent knockout in 30 seconds, I think it bumps me right up and everyone's going to be really excited about it. And then I'm probably just one fight away from a title shot after that. So I think it all depends in the heavyweight division, the way that you win. Like it's not just, I mean, every division to a degree, but I think especially in the heavyweight division, you need to win impressively and look good and exciting doing it. Otherwise, you kind of just get stuck where you are.
Where were you when you watched UFC 285, Jon coming back? What were you doing?
I was at my friend's house. I was at my friend's house at the time. Yeah, that was interesting. Very interesting, to say the least.
Why? What's interesting about watching it at your friend's house?
Oh, not the fact that I was at my friend's house, just the way the fight went. I was just very. Obviously, we knew what Jon Jones could do. Everybody knew what Jon Jones could do. The thing that really surprised me was the way that Cyril Gane approached the fight. I thought it was kind of weird and off color, to be honest, for Cyril Gane. Like I've known Cyril for a long time. I've followed his career. I've fought a few of his teammates before, so we've been closely linked for a long time. And he just didn't really look himself in there. I don't know whether Jon Jones did some like voodoo stuff on him, or maybe he was injured, or maybe he didn't want to be in there with Jon. I don't know. I'm only guessing. Only Cyril Gane and his team know. But from the outside looking in, as someone who has a general idea of what Cyril's usually about, he just didn't look right in there for whatever reason. I don't know what that is.
And when you watch that and you watch Jon come back and get all the attention, and then maybe even kind of, it sounds like you would characterize it as somewhat of a disappointing performance by Cyril. Like, do you just really want to be in there yourself, or are you not really thinking in terms of that way?
Well, of course I want to fight Jon Jones, but I don't like talking about it too much because every time I speak about it, people are like, well, he doesn't deserve to speak about Jon Jones. And I agree. Let me just say, I agree with that for right now. But if I'm not trying to fight Jon Jones, then what am I doing? I'm just here goddamn wasting my time. Of course I want to fight Jon Jones. Like, I honestly, hand on heart, think that I can beat Jon Jones. I seriously do. Right now, I've not proved that I can do that. I've definitely not proved it. And I'm not saying that I have. But I honestly believe that I can. And if he's still around when I get up there, I will be the person to beat him. I know it. But yeah, I just don't like talking about that thing too much because you always get all these people online. And I agree. I completely agree with what they're saying. I am nobody to talk about Jon Jones right now. But do I think I can beat him? Yes.
Tom, Conor McGregor didn't deserve to talk about Jose Aldo when he did, and then that just created such a buzz. It created such a want, like these people who are telling you like, oh, you don't deserve to talk about Jon Jones. Like they're like the hardcore MMA guys. Like I am literally asking you myself, forget that. Talk about Jon Jones every single chance you get, dude, because that is how you're going to get a fight with this guy. Like Jon's fighting Stipe now at the end of the year. He's talked about it could be his last fight. And I mean, I think you've had conversations with people like, will he stick around? Why would he, he would need a big fight to stick around. Like build up a big fight with Jon Jones, man. And you do it by talking about it, right? Like I'm sure you see that. Yeah,
definitely. And I think that a lot of these people who are doing these comments and speaking shit like that, they haven't got an ounce of ambition. Like this is the way that you have to think and speak when you're an ambitious, high-level athlete. Like people don't understand. Oh, he's just talking. He's a bit delusional, mate. You have to be delusional. Like to be a top-level MMA fighter, UFC fighter, you need to be a little bit delusional and think that you can beat anybody. And do I think I can beat Jon Jones? Of course I do. Is he human? Yeah, he's human. Am I a heavyweight with extreme power? Yes. So do I have a chance of beating him? Of course I do. But not only that, I think my skills match up really well with him as well. But right now, Tybura is my Jon Jones right now. And I want to beat. He's a nice guy, mate. I like him. He's a really nice person. But he's in my way. And I'm going to punch him in the face as hard as I physically can in 2 weeks' time. And I'm going to try and do extremely, extremely violent things to him in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an interesting one because it's like I hear you. You mentioned Jon Jones. You get a bunch of people online saying that you shouldn't be talking about him, and even if you want to ignore that, it can be a hard thing to ignore. You want to focus on the opponent that you got, but at the same time, I do feel like you are the guy that I think could get Jon to stick around. Like if he does have a plan to just fight, and if he beats Miocic, he's like, I'm good. I can retire now. Like I think you're the guy that could change his mind. You're the guy that could be like, if England is behind you and it's like, English heavyweight challenger, Jon Jones flying to London to like, that's the kind of thing that like you stick around for, right? So I think you would be the guy, man. And
I completely agree. And I think that a lot of the Americans don't realize what kind of pull that I have in this country. Like, I literally have a whole country behind me. Like, if any Americans question that, come to the O2 in 2 weeks' time and see what kind of crowds they're cheering for me. Like, it's absolutely insane. And I know that a lot of American fans don't have any pull like that. Like, it's as simple as come to the O2 when I'm fighting and see what kind of crowd turns up, and it's absolutely ridiculous. There's no American fighters that have what I have in the O2. No way.
Yep. Well, to kind of wrap all of this up, like when you are in the locker room at the O2 and you're getting ready to walk out, will there be I guess what will be different? You talk about the knee, you talk about a year off, you talk about like the differences in your mentality, and just kind of the way you're thinking about things. Like, what do you think is going to be the biggest differences in terms of the guy who's getting ready to walk out the O2 as opposed to a year ago?
Well, I'm completely free this time, to be honest. I'm completely free of anything that's holding me back. I'm free of any doubt in my body that anything's going to go wrong, to be honest. And not only that, is like, I feel like my training is way better than it's ever been, and my life is really, really good. Like, my personal life is great, and I'm just in a really, really good spot, like mentally and physically. I feel like I'm giving myself the best chance that I can to do the best that I can possibly do. And if it doesn't work out for whatever reason, I've given myself the best go. Like, I've given myself the absolute best chance that I can give myself now, with my training, with my personal life, with my body, with the way my mind's working, with everything. Like, everything is in line to me becoming the UFC heavyweight champion of the world. Where before it wasn't, to be honest with you. It definitely wasn't. Whereas now there's everyone's working together to the end goal, which is to get me on top of that mountain. And it's going to be complete freedom of any negative thoughts in there in 2 weeks' time. Complete freedom of it. And I, for one, I'm very excited.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.